Okay, two last examples when we're talking about identifying and using functions and representing them using rules and tables. So I have a function y equals 2x, and the domain for this function is x equals 0, 2, 5, 7, 8. What's domain again? It's inputs. So I want to make a table, then determine the range of the function. Okay, so a table. I'll go ahead and make a vertical table this time. So we have an x, we have a y, or you can call them input, output, doesn't really matter. What goes in the input? That's the domain. So I'm going to put only the numbers that they specify. 0, 2, 5, 7, 8. And now I'm going to put each one of those inputs into this rule. I'm going to do, in the y column, 2 times 0, which is equal to 0. I'm going to do 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. I'm going to do 2 times 5, which is 10, and so on and so forth until I finish using each one of these inputs. And there we go. I've completed my table. That's my representation, another representation of this function. Now I'm going to give the range of this function. The range of this function is a listing of all of these numbers, and I'm going to list them in these squiggly set brackets again. And my range is 0, 4, 10, 14, 16. Done. Last example is I want to write a rule for this function. I'm given a table representation for a function. I need to come up with the equation. I need to come up with a mathematical description of how we get these outputs from these inputs. So, well, we have to look at and sort of reason out what we think this is going to be. Well, how do we get from 0 to 2? When we have an input of 0 and we're turning that into 2, how do we get there? Well, in this case, we could add 2, right? 0 plus 2 is 2. Let's see if this idea continues to work. How do I go from 1 to 3? Am I adding 2? Yes. To go from 4 to 6, add 2. To go from 6 to 8, add 2. 10 to 12, add 2. So this idea of adding 2 seems to be working for every single one of these outputs as a way to get to from input to output. So using words, the output is the input plus 2. That would be my verbal model. So my mathematical model, my equation, my rule would be output y is equals input x plus 2. If you're going through this checking process, if you've discovered a pattern that you think might work and you start trying it with these other inputs and outputs and it doesn't work, that just means you have to go back to the beginning and try to find another relationship. If addition doesn't always work, try multiplication. Or maybe try a combination of multiplication and division. And as we get more sophisticated with our functions, we're going to start to develop some more concrete methods on how to write these mathematical rules. But for now, you have to rely on your intuition and your mathematical ability to reason and come up with this algebraic rule. So there we go. We are done. Off you go. Do your practice.